John Walton, Professor of Old Testament Emeritus at Wheaton College.
Dr. John Walton, good to see you. Welcome back to Exegetically Speaking.
Always good to sit and talk.
Yeah, we get to talk about some of the most interesting stuff, and we get paid to do that. Well, I do. I don't know about you, but you used to get paid to do this thing.
There's Social Security still.
I love it. Yes, indeed, indeed. All right, so Daniel chapter 3, you and Aubrey Buster are writing a terrific commentary on Daniel, and we're going to be talking about Daniel today, so let's get into it. What are we looking at?
Well, there are some difficulties that strike us right from the get-go. That's a technical term. When we
The get-go.
So there are some difficulties that we face right away when we start to think about exactly what's going on in this very familiar scene with the fiery furnace. It's a story that every kid knows that grows up in Sunday school,
Right.
and so a very familiar one, but there's a lot of uncertainties about it. We can ask all kinds of questions about what's this an image of? Is it of a god? Is it of the king? Is it on a stele or is it on in the round? Is it a relief? What is it? And those are all questions that are interesting, but they're not the ones we're going to talk about today. I'm going to suggest, as we do in our commentary, that this is the cult statue of a god. And particularly, I think we're going to be able to interpret well when we think about it as a god in procession. Now, where do I get that?
Yeah.
I get that from the place where this event takes place. The text identifies it as Dura. Dura is part of a place name of lots of different places because it means fortification. And so it could refer to all kinds of different places. But here it's the fortification. And you get thinking, which one? What are you talking about? And what we find is that in Neo-Babylonian texts, there is one major place, which is the fortification. Both Nebuchadnezzar and his successors were building a wall between the Tigris and Euphrates, right at the pinch point north of Babylon. And it was a wall, as many great walls are, to try to keep the invaders out. So when you think about the Great Wall of China, or Hadrian's Wall, or walls that are built today, whether in Israel, between Israel and the West Bank, or in the United States, down on the southern border. The idea of the wall that's to prevent movement of peoples through there. So we reached the conclusion that that's the wall that's referred to. So this fortification is very important in inscriptions, and it's also been found archaeologically. Much of it's been dug up. We still don't have the endpoints yet, but it's been dug up, and so we know a lot about it. Obviously, a fortification like this is very important to the security of the country, and therefore it's a very logical place to have a loyalty oath performed, where people are going to come, administrators are going to come and declare their loyalty. But there's more to it than that. Because now we talk about who's doing this and what God is it and why here? All the questions that commentators have to ask. Well, part of this comes down to a decision that Dr. Buster and I made early on, that this is actually a story about Nabonidus more than Nebuchadnezzar. We didn't make that up. Other scholars have come to that conclusion, but we were eventually persuaded by the information that supported that. And it's primarily because all of these stories fit much better with Nabonidus. And this is a case in point. Nabonidus, who is the last king of Babylon, tells us in his inscriptions how he's restoring the temple of the god Sin in Haran. And while he does that, he moves the statue of Sin down to Babylon. When he completes the renovation, he's going to move it back up and install it in the temple. In the meantime, he had made some changes, some upgrades to the statue. We're not exactly sure of all the nature of that. And so this is a new statue of a God that he is now choosing to elevate above the god Marduk. This is part of his program, his agenda. And so he's got this statue of a new God that represents his reign and his commitments that he wants people to acknowledge. And again, to do that at a place where this fortification is being built would be one good reason. There's another good reason. And that is that Nabonidus had been tutored by his mother, Adad-Gupi, in the reverence of the god Sin. She was a devotee of that god and had taught him, brought him up in that. And that was the basis of his commitment to the god Sin. His mother had died right near this wall in Sippar, at Dur Karasu,
really?
and this is where her grave is. So where he's bringing this new statue of the god Sin in procession. Think of the ark with David when he's bringing it into Jerusalem.
Yeah, yes.
With all of the bells and whistles, procession, stopping at different places, have loyalty oaths proclaimed. And of course, the big stop would be at the fortification wall right nearby where his mother, who had trained him in the worship of Sin, was buried.
Wow. That's a really interesting reading of that text.
Well, it gives us a backstory that really works. Of course, when you're building a wall made of burnt brick, what do you need? You need a furnace to bake the bricks.
At a very high temperature.
And so we know that this was taking place in that region. And that would be a very handy thing there as a punishment for those who refused.
So as this God is being processed by, the expectation was that others would bow the knee.
Everyone would bow the knee. And of course, that's God and king are inseparable here. To acknowledge Sin was to acknowledge Nabonidus. To acknowledge Nabonidus was to acknowledge Sin. So it's probably a statue of the god Sin, but this is much more an act of loyalty, an oath of loyalty to the king, to Nabonidus, because he's doing some different things here that were unpopular in the country.
And he's taken that very, very personally.
Yes.
When people refuse.
And one other factor that comes into this is that not only is it the procession of the god as it moves up to the new temple at Haran, all the musical instruments are part of that processional, just like they are in the other examples that we have. But I also believe, and we came to this conclusion, that likewise, the bowing down is in procession. That is, it's not the whole group, musical instruments play, down they go, and then what? The musical instruments play one line and then they're done? No, they're playing continually as everybody there moves in procession. Each one individually stands in front of the king while the music plays, and they do their obeisance, do their homage. And so they're in a procession line. I tend to think of graduation with the music playing and playing and playing while everybody marches in.
Pomp and circumstance.
Yeah. And so that's why you have the musical instruments there, because this is a big deal for the king and for his God. And so Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are making their way forward. I can imagine them trying to figure out, what are we going to do here? Are we going to do this or not? Anyway, the text doesn't have any of that. But these are things that just give us a backstory that makes sense in what we know of Nabonidus and his inscriptions. He was boasting about this new statue with its new tiara, and he's also criticized for that by Cyrus in his literature.
So we see it from not only the Hebrew side, the Hebrew people, we see it also from
the Babylonian side and the Persian side. Yeah.
Interesting. Wonderful reading, John, of that text. We look forward to seeing that and reading that in y'all's new commentary coming up.
We're looking forward to it, too.
All right. Thanks for being with us. John Walton has always been a good friend of this podcast and one of our most active presenters. You really respond well to that. What a delightful colleague. If you're a ministry leader and you know a young man or woman in your church who is interested in the Bible, there's no better place than Wheaton College to get that training. Go to the show notes, and there are links that you can find there that you can follow for more information. Exegetically Speaking is a podcast of the friends and faculty of Wheaton College, Wheaton, Illinois, and the Lanier Theological Library in Houston, Texas. Thanks to our audio editor, my wife, Kathy Capes. Thanks to Serena Leah, who helped arrange my last visit up to Wheaton to attend a lecture and also to record some podcasts. Thanks to Rebecca Larson, John Lansma, and Jesse Dugan. They all help us produce this podcast on a weekly basis. Thanks to Phil Keggy, David Capes, for our music. Until next time, I am David Capes. Thanks for listening.